The stars had always been humanity's dream. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what secrets waited beyond the darkness. They built telescopes. They sent rockets. They walked on the moon. And then, just when they were ready to reach further, they discovered they were not alone. The year was 2047, and the first alien ships appeared above Earth. Humanity celebrated. They thought this was the beginning of a new age. They were wrong. The Galactic Council, a group of hundreds of alien species that ruled most of the known galaxy, had been watching humanity for a long time. They studied human history. They watched the wars. They saw the nuclear bombs fall on cities. They witnessed the violence, the greed, and the endless hunger for power. And they were afraid. Within 1 year of first contact, the Council made a decision. Humanity was too dangerous, too unpredictable, too violent. They could not be allowed to spread among the stars, so they built a cage. The containment field was a massive wall of energy that surrounded the entire Sol system. Nothing could pass through it. No ship, no signal, no hope. The aliens told humanity that this was for their own protection. They said humans needed time to evolve, to become peaceful. They promised to return when humanity was ready. They never came back. 300 years passed. Captain Hante stood on the bridge of the UEF horizon, staring at the shimmering wall of light that blocked his path. He was a tall man in his mid-40s, with gray streaks in his black hair and calm eyes that had seen too many disappointments. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in silence. They had made this journey many times before. Every attempt to break through the barrier had failed, but today felt different. "Captain," said Lieutenant Ji Woo from her station. She was young, barely 23, but her mind was sharper than officers twice her age. "Dr. Ko is ready. She says the device is fully charged." Hante nodded slowly. "Tell her to come to the bridge." A few minutes later, Dr. Yunikeo walked through the door. She was a small woman, with tired eyes and messy hair pulled back in a simple tie. She carried a tablet in her hands and her fingers moved nervously over its surface. She was not a soldier. She was a scientist. But she had done something no scientist in 300 years had managed to do. She had found a way out. Captain Yuna said, her voice quiet but steady. "The quantum resonance drive is ready. I have run every simulation. The numbers are good." Hante turned to face her. "You studied the barrier itself." Yes, Yuna allowed herself a small smile. "They built our cage from energy patterns we had never seen before. But energy follows rules. Everything follows rules. I've spent 15 years learning those rules. The barrier is not a wall. It is more like a wave, and waves can be mashed. If we generate the exact opposite frequency, we can pass through." "They never expected us to learn from our prison," Hante said. "No, they thought we would simply accept it." Hante looked around the bridge. His crew watched him with hope and fear mixed on their faces. They had been born inside this cage. Their parents had been born inside it. For 3 centuries, humanity had been told they were too dangerous for the universe. They had been locked away like criminals and forgotten, but they had not wasted those years. In the darkness of their prison, humanity had grown. They had united. The old nations of Earth had merged into one government. The wars had stopped. The old hatreds had faded. And most importantly, they had advanced. Without the distraction of conflict, human science had leaped forward. They built ships that could cross the solar system in days. They created artificial intelligence that worked alongside humans as partners. They developed weapons that made their old nuclear bombs look like toys. And now, they were ready. "Contact Admiral Sung Ho," Hante ordered. "Tell him we are in position." The communications screen flickered, and an old man's face appeared. Admiral Sung Ho was past 60, with a weathered face and white hair cropped short. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. Behind him, Hante could see the command center of Earth Fleet headquarters, filled with officers watching screens and holding their breath. "Captain Han," the Admiral said. "The Council is watching. All of humanity is watching. Are you prepared?" "We are, Admiral." Sung Ho's eyes softened for just a moment. 300 years ago, they told us we were monsters. They told us we did not deserve the stars. Today, we prove them wrong. Not through violence, not through conquest, but by simply refusing to be forgotten. He paused. You have permission to proceed. Ante turned back to the main window. The barrier shimmered like a curtain of light, beautiful and terrible at the same time. He thought about all the generations that had lived and died, never seeing what lay beyond. Lieutenant Ji Woo, he said calmly, activate the resonance drive. Ji Woo's fingers danced across her console. Drive activated. Frequency matching in progress. She looked up, her young face pale but determined. 60 seconds to phase transition. The ship began to vibrate. A low hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. On the screen, Hante could see the 9 other ships of their fleet moving into formation behind them. They would all cross together, or not at all. 30 seconds, Ji Woo announced. Yuna gripped the railing beside her, her knuckles white. This was her life's work. If it failed now, everything would be lost. 10 seconds. Hante stood perfectly still. He did not pray. He did not hope. He simply waited. Phase transition now. The horizon lurched forward. The barrier rushed toward them, a wall of blinding light. For one terrible moment, Hante felt his body twist and stretch, as if reality itself was trying to tear him apart. And then it stopped. The light faded. The vibrations ceased. And through the main window, Hante saw something no human had seen in 300 years. Open space. Endless. Beautiful. Free. We're through, Ji Woo whispered. Captain, we're through. Behind them, the other 9 ships emerged, one by one, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. The crew began to cheer. Some of them cried. They had done the impossible. Hante allowed himself a single breath of relief. Then his expression hardened again. Breaking out was only the first step. What came next would be much harder. Far away, on a space station, at the edge of known space, an alien sensor operator stared at his screen in disbelief. He checked the readings 3 times, then 4. His hands began to shake. He activated his communication device and spoke one word that would echo across 1,000 worlds, sending ripples of fear through the hearts of species that had not known fear for millennia. Impossible. Humans were free, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news spread like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every corner of the galaxy knew what had happened. The humans had escaped on Alaris Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. Panic had already begun. Ships fled the spaceports. Citizens rushed to buy supplies. Parents held their children close and whispered old stories about the monsters from the forbidden system. Stories that had been passed down for 300 years. Stories about creatures that ate their own kind, that burned entire cities with weapons made from splitting atoms, that fought endless wars over invisible lines drawn on maps. The humans were coming. Hi. Arbiter Vellum sat alone in his private chamber, staring at the emergency reports flooding his screens. He was ancient, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His skin was pale blue, stretched thin over a tall, narrow frame. His eyes, wide and silver, had seen the rise and fall of empires. He had been young when the containment was first established. He remembered the debate, the fear, desperate vote to cage humanity before they could spread. Now, somehow they had broken free. How? He whispered to himself. How did they do it? His door chimed. Counselor Thrin entered without waiting for permission. He was a smaller creature, covered in fine scales, the color of rust. His species, the Veth, had always been the most vocal supporters of human containment. They had worlds closest to the Sol system. They had the most to fear. Arbiter Thrin said, his voice high and sharp, "The Council demands an emergency assembly. Every species is calling for answers. We must act now." Vellum rose slowly. "Then we shall give them answers." 1 hour later, the great chamber of Alaris Prime was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Hundreds of species gathered in the vast circular hall. their bodies ranging from insectoid to humanoid to shapes that defied easy description. Holographic translators floated through the air, converting every word into every language. The noise was deafening. Fear and anger mixed into chaos. Vel raised his hand, and slowly, silence fell. 300 years ago, he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. Our ancestors made a choice. They discovered a species on a small blue world. A species of violence. A species of war. A species that had nearly destroyed itself not once, but many times. They chose to contain that species for the safety of all. He paused, letting his words settle. 12 hours ago, that containment failed. 10 human vessels have breached the barrier and entered free space. The chamber erupted again. Cries of fear, demands for action. Accusations and blame flying in every direction, Counselor Thrin pushed forward to the central podium. We must destroy them, he shouted, before they spread, before they multiply. We all know what humans are capable of. We have the recordings. We have the evidence. He activated a holographic display. Images filled the air above the chamber. Soldiers charging across muddy fields, cities burning, mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes, bodies piled in mass graves. All of it from Earth's ancient history, preserved by the Council as proof of human nature. This is what they are, Thrin said. This is what they will always be. We caged them because we had no choice. Now that they are free, we must end them before they end us. Many in the chamber nodded. The fear was too strong. The images too powerful, but a new voice rose from the crowd. May I speak? Vellum turned. An old creature shuffled forward, his body bent with age, his gray robes dragging on the floor. This was Scholar Chorus, the galaxy's foremost historian. He had dedicated his long life to studying civilizations, including the Forbidden One. Scholar Vellum said cautiously. You wish to address the council? I do. Chorus reached the podium and looked out at the assembled representatives. His voice was soft, but something in his tone commanded attention. Counselor Thrin shows us images of human violence. He is not wrong. Humans have been violent. Terribly so, he paused. But he shows us only part of the truth. Those images are from centuries ago. Humans are not a static species. They change. They adapt. They learn. He gestured at the holographic display. Tell me, Counselor, what have the humans been doing for the last 300 years? Thrin blinked. They have been contained. Yes, and in that time, what happened to their wars? Their conflicts? Their divisions? Silence. I will tell you, Chorus continued. They stopped. The humans unified. Their old nations merged. Their weapons were turned toward science, exploration, medicine. They did not stagnate in their prison. They grew. He lowered his voice. We gave them a cage, and they used it as a forge. What is your point, old man? Thrin demanded. Chorus turned to face the chamber fully. My point is that the humans who escaped today are not the same humans we locked away. They are something new, something we do not understand. And I fear that attacking them blindly would be the greatest mistake this council has ever made. From the military section of the chamber, a massive figure rose. Archon Palax was the supreme commander of the Coalition fleet, the combined military force of the Galactic Council. His species was known for their size and strength, and he towered over those around him with respect. Scholar, Palax said, his deep voice rumbling through the hall. Your theories are just that. Theories, ideal in reality. And the reality is that 10 small ships have escaped a cage. 10 ships. He allowed himself a confident smile. I have 500 warships ready to mobilize. Whatever the humans have become, they cannot stand against such force. Chorus shook his head slowly. You underestimate them, Archon. That is exactly what they want. We shall see. He turned to Vellum. Hi, Arbiter. I request permission to intercept and neutralize the human fleet. This matter can be resolved within days. Vellum hesitated. He looked at Chorus, whose ancient eyes held a warning. Then he looked at the chamber, filled with frightened representatives demanding action. Fear 1. Permission granted, Vellum said. Archon Palax, you will take your fleet and deal with the human threat. End this quickly. Palax bowed his head. It will be done. As he turned to leave, Chorus called after him. Archon, remember my words when you face them. Humans do not simply fight. They evolve. Every battle makes them stronger. Palax did not look back. Then I will not give them the chance to evolve. Far across the galaxy, aboard the Horizon, Lieutenant Ji Woo studied her sensor readings with growing concern. Captain, she said quietly, I'm detecting a large fleet mobilizing near Aliris Prime. Approximately 500 vessels. Captain Han Tae walked to her station and studied the data. His expression remained calm. 500 ships, Ji Woo said. Against our 10. Sir, what do we do? Han Tae was silent for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he smiled. Only 500? Said. They're underestimating us. He turned to face his crew. They were watching him, waiting for orders, trusting him with their lives. We came here for peace, Han Tae said. But peace is not given. It is earned. If they want a demonstration of what humanity has become, then we will give them one. His eyes hardened. Battle stations. The humans were ready. The galaxy was not. The coalition. Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a swarm of metal locusts. 500 warships, each one bristling with weapons that had crushed rebellions and ended civilizations. They were the pride of the Galactic Council. Undefeated for over 1,000 years, Archon Palax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. 10 tiny dots represented the human fleet, floating alone in the vast emptiness of space. They looked so small, so vulnerable. Open a communication channel, Palax ordered. Let us give them one chance to surrender. The Council wishes to appear merciful. The channel crackled to life. A moment later, a human face appeared on the screen. Palax studied it with curiosity. He had never seen a human before, only images from ancient recordings. This one was male, with calm, dark eyes and graying hair. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations, no medals. He looked almost ordinary. Human vessel, Palax said, keeping his voice steady and commanding. I am Archon Palax, of the Galactic Coalition Fleet. You have illegally breached the containment, field established by lawful decree of the Galactic Council. You will power down your weapons, surrender your ships, and return to your designated zone. If you comply, no harm will come to you. The human did not flinch. He did not show fear. He simply nodded once, as if acknowledging the message, and then spoke in return. I am Captain Han Tae of the United Earth Fleet. We have received your message. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. We did not break free from our prison to seek war. We came to speak, to negotiate, to find our place among the stars. You have no place among the stars, Palax interrupted. That was decided 300 years ago. By others, Han Tae replied, not by us. We were never given a choice. We were never given a voice. We simply asked for the chance to be heard. Palax felt a flicker of annoyance. He had expected begging, pleading, perhaps threats. Instead, this human spoke as if they were equals, as if 10 ships could bargain with 500. Your request is denied, Palax said coldly. You will surrender now, or you will be destroyed. There will be no further warnings. Han Tae's expression did not change. Then you leave us no choice. We will not return to our cage. We will not surrender our freedom. But know this, Archon, we did not want this fight. You did. Remember that. The channel closed. Palax laughed. He actually laughed. The sound echoed across his bridge, and his officers joined in nervously. Brave words from dead men, he said. All ships, open fire. 500 weapons powered up. Plasma cannons, particle beams, missile batteries. The Coalition fleet had enough firepower to crack a planet. Against 10 small ships, It would be over in seconds. Except it was. The human ships moved. Not slowly, not hesitantly, but with impossible speed and perfect coordination. They scattered like leaves in wind, each one dodging incoming fire by margins so small they should have been impossible. Palax watched in disbelief as his first volley missed completely. "I recalibrate targeting," he shouted. "They're using some kind of predictive evasion." Before his officers could respond, the humans struck back. Railguns. Palax had never seen weapons like them. They fired solid projectiles at speeds so fast they were nearly invisible. The first round punched through a coalition cruiser like it was made of paper. Then another. Then another. Energy shields flickered and failed. Ships that had never known defeat began to explode. How is this possible? Thrin's voice crackled over the command frequency. He had insisted on joining the fleet, watching from a safe distance. He no longer sounded safe. "Their weapons are tearing through our shields." Palax gripped his command chair, his confidence crumbling. "Focus fire on the lead vessel. Concentrate everything on that one ship." Dozens of beams converged on the horizon. Captain Hante's ship should have been vaporized. Instead, a shimmering field of energy appeared around it, absorbing every shot. The barrier glowed brighter with each impact, but did not break. "They're using our own containment technology," one of Palax's officers gasped. "They reverse-engineered the barrier. They made it into shields." Palax felt ice in his veins. Scholar Chorus's warning echoed in his mind. They evolve. Every battle makes them stronger. On the horizon, Lieutenant Ji Woo worked her console with focused intensity. Her fingers flew across the controls, coordinating with the fleet's combat AI. "Enemy formation is breaking," she reported. 47 ships destroyed. 83 heavily damaged. The rest are falling back. Captain Hunte stood motionless, watching the battle unfold on the main screen. He felt no joy. Each destroyed ship represented lives lost. Lives that could have been saved if the Council had simply listened. "Target the flagship's engines," he ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. I want their commander alive." "Yes, Captain." The Horizon's railguns spoke. 2 precise shots struck the Dominion's engine section. The massive flagship shuddered and went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Within 40 minutes, the battle was over. 217 coalition ships were destroyed. Over 100 more were damaged beyond combat capability. The survivors fled in scattered groups, their formation shattered, their confidence broken. Not a single human ship was lost. Palax sat alone on his crippled bridge, surrounded by smoke and sparking consoles. His crew was gone, evacuated to escape pods. Only he remained unable to accept what had happened. He was supposed to win. He had always won. A communication request appeared on his screen. He accepted it. Captain Hante's face appeared once more. His expression was unchanged, calm, almost sad. "Archon Palax," Hante said. "This battle is over. Your fleet is defeated. But I want you to understand something." Palax said nothing. He had no words left. "We did not want this," Hante continued. "We wanted to talk. We wanted peace. Your council gave us no choice." He paused. "I am sending medical ships to assist your wounded. We will not fire on rescue operations. We are not the monsters you believe us to be." Palax found his voice at last, though it came out as barely a whisper. "What? What do you want?" "Only what was always ours. A place among the stars. A voice in the galaxy. Freedom." Hante's eyes hardened. "Go back to your council, Archon. Tell them what you saw today. Tell them that humanity will never be caged again. And tell them this: we are coming to talk. Not to conquer. Not to destroy. To talk. But if they send another fleet, if they try to cage us again, we will not show such mercy next time." The channel closed. Palax sat in the darkness, shaking. He had underestimated them. They all had. And now the galaxy would pay for that mistake. Across countless worlds, billions of beings watched recordings of the battle. They saw the mighty coalition fleet broken in less than an hour. They saw the precision, the technology, overwhelming power of ships that had been trapped for 3 centuries, and for the first time in 1,000 years. The Galactic Council knew true fear. The humans were not just free, they were unstoppable. The defeat of Archon Palax changed everything. In the halls of power across the galaxy, the old certainties crumbled. For 1,000 years, the Coalition fleet had been invincible. Now recordings of their destruction played on every screen, in every home, on every world. 10 ships against 500. 40 minutes. Complete victory. The humans had won. They had not even tried very hard. On Alaris Prime, the Galactic Council met again. But this time, there was no shouting. No demands for war. Only silence, heavy and afraid. High Arbiter Vellum looked older than he had ever looked before. His silver eyes were dim, his shoulders bent. He had sent the fleet. He had made the decision. And now he had to face the consequences. "Cannot fight them," Counselor Thrin said quietly. He sat slumped in his chair, all his earlier fire gone. "We sent our best. They destroyed our best. We have nothing left. Then what do we do?" Another counselor asked. "Surrender. Accept these monsters into our civilization? They are not monsters." Every head turned. Scholar Chorus walked slowly into the chamber, carrying an ancient data tablet in his thin hands. He looked exhausted, as if he had not slept in days. But there was something in his eyes. A truth, long hidden, finally ready to be spoken. "What do you mean, Scholar?" Vellum asked. "You have seen the recordings of their history. The wars, the violence. I have seen them, yes." Chorus reached the central podium and set down his tablet. "But I've also seen something else. Something the Council has kept hidden for 300 years. He looked directly at Vellum. "Something you helped hide, Arbiter?" Vellum's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do." Chorus activated the tablet. A holographic image appeared, filling the air above the chamber. It showed ancient texts, equations, and a complex diagram that few in the room could understand. "This is from the original archives. The records from when humans were first discovered. The records of why the containment was truly established." He paused, letting the tension build. The Council told the galaxy that humans were caged because they were dangerous, because they were violent, because they were monsters who would destroy everything they touched. His voice hardened. That was a lie. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several counselors began shouting protests. Vellum raised his hand for silence, but his hand was shaking. 300 years ago, Chorus continued, when our ancestors first found humanity, they did something they had never done before. They ran a prediction model, a simulation of what would happen if humans were allowed to join galactic civilization. He pointed at the hologram. This is the result of that simulation. Numbers scrolled across the display. Charts and graphs filled the air. Within 500 years, the model predicted humans would become the dominant species in the galaxy. Not through war. Not through conquest. Through adaptation, cooperation, and growth. And Chorus looked around the chamber. Our ancestors were not afraid that humans would destroy the galaxy. They were afraid that humans would lead it. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. They caged humanity not because humans were monsters, Chorus said softly. They caged them because humans were competition. Counselor Thrin rose slowly, his face twisted with confusion. That cannot be true. The violence, the wars, all species have violence in their history, Chorus replied, including yours, Counselor. The difference is that humans learn from their violence. They grow stronger. They become better. He shook his head sadly. Our ancestors saw this. They saw a species that could not be stopped, that would not be controlled, and they were afraid. Vellum finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. If this becomes known, it is already known, Chorus said. The humans found the same data in the containment barrier's code. They know why they were truly imprisoned. They know we caged them not out of justice, but out of fear. Far across the galaxy aboard the horizon, Dr. Unico stared at the data on her screen. She had discovered it while analyzing the containment field's base code. Hidden in the ancient programming was the original simulation, the prediction that had sealed humanity's fate. Captain Hante stood beside her. Reading the same words? They were afraid of us, Yuna said quietly. Not because of what we had done, because of what we might become, Hante nodded slowly. 300 years in a cage because we were too good at surviving, too good at adapting. He turned away from the screen. In a way, they were right to be afraid. Look at what we became in that cage. Look at what we are now. Yuna looked up at him. What do we do with this information? We use it carefully. Ante walked to the window and stared out at the stars. If we reveal this truth and demand revenge, we prove that we are exactly what they feared. But if we reveal it and offer forgiveness, he paused. Then we prove we are better than their fears. The door opened and an officer entered. Captain Admiral Sung Ho is calling from Earth. He says the ambassador is ready. Hante turned. Send her up. 1 hour later, Ambassador Hannah Kang stood on the bridge of the horizon. She was a woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She had spent her life in diplomacy, navigating the complex politics of unified Earth. Now, she would face the greatest challenge of her career. Ambassador Han Te said, "You understand the situation." "I do." Hannah reviewed the data on her tablet. The Council caged us out of fear, not justice. We have the power to destroy them. But we choose to talk instead. She smiled slightly. It is a strong position. Be careful, Yuna warned. They are afraid. Afraid creatures make dangerous decisions. I know. Hannah set down her tablet and straightened her formal jacket. But that is exactly why I must go. Someone has to show them that we are not the monsters they imagined. Someone has to offer a path forward that does not end in extinction. Behind them, the fleet had grown. Word of the victory had spread to Earth, and more ships had launched. 100 vessels now waited in formation, not an invasion force, but a statement. A reminder of what humanity had become. Hante looked at Hannah with respect. You will be walking into a room full of species that have feared us for 3 centuries. Many of them still want us dead. Yes, Hannah agreed. But fear and hatred are heavy burdens. Many of them may be tired of carrying them. She walked toward the shuttle bay. I will give them a chance to set those burdens down. As her shuttle launched toward Alaris Prime, the entire galaxy held its breath. The battle was over. Now came the harder part, making peace with those who had wronged you, and convincing them that peace was possible at all. The great chamber of Alaris Prime had never been so quiet. Ambassador Hannah Kong walked through the massive doors alone. No guards, no weapons. Just one human woman in a simple, gray formal suit, her footsteps echoing across the ancient stone floor. Hundreds of alien eyes watched her approach. Some burned with hatred. Some flickered with fear. Some held nothing but cold curiosity. She felt their stares like physical weight, but she did not slow. She did not hesitate. This was the moment humanity had waited 300 years for. High Arbiter Vellum sat at the center of the council, his silver eyes fixed on her. Beside him, Counselor Thrin gripped his chair with trembling hands. Scholar Chorus watched from the back, his ancient face unreadable. Hannah reached the central podium and stopped. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. Then she spoke. My name is Hannah Kong. I am the ambassador of the United Earth Government. I speak for 8 billion. Human beings who have lived their entire lives inside a cage they did not build and did not deserve. The voice was calm, but carried through. The silent chamber. I am not here to threaten you. I am not here to demand revenge. I am here to talk. To explain who we truly are, and to offer you something that perhaps you do not expect. Vellum leaned forward. You speak of peace while your fleet destroys our ships. You speak of civilization while your history drowns in blood. Hannah nodded. You are right. Humanity has a violent history. We will not deny it. We will not hide from it. She paused. But tell me, Arbiter, which species in this chamber has no violence in its past? Which of you has never fought wars, never committed acts of cruelty, never made choices you later regretted? Silence. Humanity's history is bloody, but it is also a story of growth, of learning, of becoming better. She pulled out a small device and activated a holographic display. Images began to appear above the chamber, but not the old images of war and destruction. New images: the unified Earth, cities gleaming with clean energy, hospitals where diseases that once killed millions had been erased, schools where children of all nations learned together, space stations orbiting the moon built through cooperation, not competition. This is what we became in your cage, Hannah said. You locked us away, expecting us to destroy ourselves. Instead, we united. We grew. We built a civilization that your ancestors predicted but could not accept. She lowered her voice. You know the truth now. Scholar Chorus has shown you the ancient records. We were not caged because we were monsters. We were caged because you were afraid of what we might become. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many counselors looked at Vellum, who could not meet their eyes. I could use this truth as a weapon, Hannah continued. I could demand apologies, punishments, revenge for 300 years of imprisonment. My people have earned that anger. She paused, letting her words settle. But I will not. Because revenge is the path of the humans you feared, and we are no longer those humans. Stepped away from the podium and walked directly toward the council. Seats, we offer you friendship, trade, alliance, the chance to work together toward a future better than either of us could build alone. Stopped and spread her hands. This is our choice. What is yours? For a long moment, nobody moved. The chamber seemed frozen in time. Then Counselor Thrin stood. His scales rippled with nervous energy, but he forced himself to speak. I was one of the loudest voices calling for human destruction. I showed the recordings of your ancient wars. I demanded that we cage you forever or kill you entirely. He took a shaking breath. I was wrong. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Thrin continued. I was afraid. My species has always been afraid. Our worlds are close to yours. We grew up with stories of human violence passed down through generations. I believed those stories without question. He looked at Hannah with something new in his eyes, something like respect. But I watched your fleet defeat ours. And then I watched your captains send medical ships to help our wounded. I watched your people show mercy to those who came to destroy them. His voice cracked. That is not what monsters do. He turned to face the chamber. I have lived my entire life carrying fear like a stone in my chest. I am tired of it. He straightened his shoulders. I vote for peace. One by one, other counselors began to stand. Some reluctantly, some with visible relief, some with tears in their strange alien eyes. The weight of 3 centuries of fear was finally lifting. Vellum remained seated, his face unreadable. The entire chamber watched him. He was the High Arbiter. His voice carried more weight than any other. Slowly, painfully, he rose. I helped build the containment, he said quietly. I was young then. Afraid, like everyone else? I told myself it was the right thing to do. The safe thing? He looked at Hannah. I was wrong. He walked down from his seat and approached her. Face to face, the ancient alien and the human ambassador studied each other. 300 years of fear, Vellum said. 300 years of lies. And yet you come here offering peace instead of punishment. He shook his head slowly. Perhaps the old predictions were right. Perhaps you truly are meant to lead. He extended a thin, pale hand. Hannah took it. The chamber erupted. Not in anger this time. Not in fear. But in something that felt almost like hope. That day a treaty was signed. Humanity was granted provisional membership in the galactic community. The containment field was officially deactivated. Its ancient generators shut down forever. And for the first time in 300 years, humans could travel the stars freely. Far above Alaris Prime, Captain Hante watched the ceremony through a live feed. Beside him, Dr. Unica smiled for the first time in days. Lieutenant Jiwoo stood at her station, her young face filled with wonder. "We did it," Yuna whispered. "We actually did it," Hante said quietly. "This is not the end. This is the beginning." On the screen, Ambassador Hannah Kong was shaking hands with counselors from a dozen different species. The fear was fading. The walls were coming down. A new age was starting. Jiwoo looked out the window at the endless stars. "Captain, what happens now?" Hante considered the question. 300 years of imprisonment. A battle that proved humanity's strength. A treaty that proved humanity's wisdom. And now, a galaxy waiting to be explored, full of new friends, new challenges, new possibilities. "Now," he said, "we begin the real work. We learn. We grow. We prove that the trust they gave us today was not a mistake." He turned from the window and looked at his crew. "The galaxy feared us for 300 years. It is time to give them 300 reasons to be glad we are here." The horizon turned toward the unknown, toward the endless darkness filled with light. Humanity was free, and their story was just beginning.